Our guest today here on Handicappers Corner is Brian Butters, the Director of Racing Sustainability. He reports to the Horse Racing Industry Management Committee. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
Briefly describe your role. What is a Director of Racing Sustainability?
Well, it's a brand new role, as I think most people know, put up by the Horse Racing Industry Management Committee about 10 months ago, and I went into the job about 6 months ago. And it's my interpretation of the role is to act as an intermediary between the main elements of the horse racing industry, that being the standardbred owners, the thoroughbred owners, and the racetrack operator. And the other side being, of course, the committee itself, which is charged with making important decisions about the overall direction of the industry. So, we know that it's important to have good communication between the people who are making those decisions and the people who are kind of at the sharp end of the business, operating racing on a constant basis. And so I try to bring my skill set, which has a lot of stakeholder relations and communications and public affairs experience in it, and work with all of those parties to try to make sure that we're openly communicating and we're transparent in our discussions, and hopefully get the important decisions brought to the attention of the committee so that they can be as well informed as possible.
I'll briefly tell our viewers a bit about your vision for the future of horse racing in British Columbia.
Well, I think the most important thing for the industry at this point is to have a certainty about there being a future for racing in BC. Stability. You can't have sustainability until you have stability. And I think the committee's done a lot of good work in the last couple of years to establish some of that stability. And I think from this point on, we need to convince the people who are operating in the horse racing industry, whether they be owners or breeders or trainers or whoever, that there is going to be racing sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. So I think the consultation process that we're going to be undertaking here in the next short while is going to be critical to get ideas from everybody in the industry, and we can talk more about that later. But at this point, it's really important that the committee have the information that it needs to establish one or more viable business models that would allow horse racing to have a successful future in BC. We have a tremendously rich history here in British Columbia in racing. We have a lot of people whose livelihoods depend on racing, and a lot of people whose enjoyment depends on wagering and racing.
Big spin-off effects.
Absolutely, right into the agricultural sector. And so everything we can do to try to preserve that lifestyle, we want to do everything we can.
I know it can't happen overnight, but maybe describe the progress of creating a more certain future in the province.
I think the establishment of the industry committee has a lot to do with that. It does date back about 2.5 years. And I think the committee was very successful in solving some of the financial misunderstandings, perhaps, that existed between the various parts of the industry. And so we've got a good, stable platform now on which we can try to build a structure and a philosophy and a vision for the future. And I think that's the step that the committee members themselves are most excited about, is kind of leaving the finances behind now that they're well established, and getting on with determining the strategy and the tactics for creating a future for horse racing in BC. We need to be able to do that. The time is now.
Yeah, part of the strategy will definitely be involving the BC Lottery Corporation, and as we witnessed last year, it was great to have their marketing team on board, and they really targeted the younger demographic, making, in combination with Hastings Racecourse, making Friday Night Lives a big success, a fun place to be, Hastings, and get that excitement back, get the young folks in there. Perhaps can you discuss any strategies or ideas that BCLC has for 2012?
Absolutely. We want to continue with that excitement. I agree that a great job was done in creating more excitement and enthusiasm for horse racing. I've always felt that horse racing kind of skipped a generation, and we're trying to fill back in now and get those younger people involved in racing in a way that they were not previously. So the live product is tremendously important, but equally important, if not more important, is the 92% of the wagering that takes place, not by the live customer, but by people who are betting simulcast wagering, import wagering. And we need to find a way to try to move the needle of wagering so that the people who are currently doing that activity do more of it, hopefully at a higher wagering level, and that people who have not yet been introduced into that style of wagering do get introduced and find it exciting and graduate from the live product to the simulcast product and sort of move through that pipeline so that they're lifelong racing fans and support the industry through their wagering. And that's how we make our bread and butter, and it's very important for us to be able to market that, and that's where you'll see, I think, more focus this year than in the past.
Yeah, it's great to have them on board, BCLC. I know up on your calendar is some industry stakeholder consultations. These are extremely important, and it's pretty much inviting every stakeholder, whatever faction you're in, whether it's breeding, you're a jockey, a trainer, an owner, to give some input in these consultations. And I know you can't fix an industry until you get to know all the problems and the little flaws, and at least knowing the inner workings of the industry, you get to talk to everyone. And I know those are coming up very shortly.
They are coming up very soon, and we do welcome all the participants in the industry to come forward and speak to us. We're creating opportunities for them to be part of that process. And the important thing is that we try to gather as many ideas as we can, and some of those ideas might be conventional, and we hope that some of them are unconventional. And we're going to be also looking at things that other jurisdictions have tried that have succeeded. So we're looking to put in practice the best ideas that we can identify, load up the committee with as many of those ideas as we can, and get them some time to think about a creation of one or more viable business models that will allow this industry to succeed in the future.
Well, that's great news, and our industry is far better for having you in it. Thank you for joining us today here on Handicappers Corner, Brian.
Mike, it's a pleasure. Thanks. I'll look forward to coming back sometime.
Now on screen is the information that you will be asked at the BC Horse Racing Industry Stakeholder Consultations. There is the purpose. It is to develop a sustainable business model for the industry going into the future. What does the success of BC racing industry look like to you? Another question would be, what factors does the committee need to consider? What questions they need to answer before moving forward in developing a new and sustainable business model for the BC racing industry? And what conventional or even unconventional ideas you have for building a sustainable BC horse racing industry? Here are the dates and times of the upcoming consultations. The first one is at Hastings Park on Wednesday, May the 2nd. Time is 1 o'clock at the old slots floor in the Grandstad area down on the tarmac. This is for owners. Any owner is invited to come to Hastings on Wednesday, May the 2nd at 1 o'clock with your brilliant ideas for racing into the future. On Thursday, May the 3rd, they will be interviewing GPED Racing from 8:30 in the morning to 9:30. Then trainers, jockeys, veterinarians, and grooms, or any other interested parties will be at 10 o'clock to 12:30, once again in the old slots floor at Hastings. Later in the day, the bettors will be involved at 1:30 to 3:30 on the old slots floor, once again Thursday, May the 3rd. And then track operations will be interviewed at 3:30 to 5 o'clock on the old slots floor. Up in Vernon on Tuesday, May the 15th, the interior horse racing will be invited to contribute. The place, the Village Green Hotel. The time, 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock up in Vernon, Tuesday, May the 15th. And on Wednesday, May the 16th, they'll be in Chilliwack for the Thoroughbred Breeders from 1 o'clock until 3 at the Coast Hotel. So do bring out all of your ideas. Your input is greatly appreciated and really needed. So please do take advantage of these Thoroughbred stakeholder consultations.